In his first public remarks since the announcement of tough tech-related export curbs, President Moon Jae-in demands Japan call off its trade restrictions on South Korea. We have extended coverage of all the latest. Domestic issues and North Korea. These are the topics up for debate. The South Korea's National Assembly is set to kick off a three-day round of Q&A sessions with government officials. Plus, as tensions simmer, US Vice President Mike Pence echoes his boss in the White House, issuing a stark warning to Iran over its decision to start hiking uranium enrichment. Our top story this morning, President Moon Jae-in has weighed in publicly for the first time on Japan's aggressive new trade restrictions against South Korea. He urged Tokyo on Monday to drop the measures and settle the dispute through negotiations. And importantly, he vowed to spare no effort at all to support the South Korean tech companies that'll be most affected by Japan's move. Our Park Hee-jun starts us off.
President Moon Jae-in has demanded that Japan calls off its latest trade restrictions in his first public remarks since the announcement of the export curbs.
일본 측의 조치 철회와 양국 간의 성의 있는 협의를 촉구합니다. 무역은 공동 번영의 도구여야 한다는 국제사회의 믿음과 일본이 늘 주창해온 자유무역의 원칙으로 되돌아가기를 바랍니다.
President Moon's meeting with his top aides on Monday comes at a time of troubled bilateral relations stemming from Japan's new set of export controls on key materials bound for South Korea for making chips and smartphone displays. President Moon said he will try to resolve the dispute calmly in a diplomatic manner, but he made it clear that he will not stand back while Korean companies suffer the consequences. He promised to drop short-term solutions to minimize the damage while working to remove the deep-rooted structural economic vulnerabilities in the long term.
전례 없는 비상황 상황에 무엇보다 중요한 것은 정부와 경제계가 긴밀하게 소통하고 협력하는 것입니다. 청와대와 관련 부처 모두가 나서 상황 변화에 따른 해당 기업들의 애로를 직접 듣고 해결 방안을 함께 논의하며 필요한 지원을 아끼지 말아야 할 것입니다.
And to do that, President Moon is planning a meeting with the executives of 30 major South Korean companies on Wednesday. Taking the lead in dealing with the issue, the president is expected to exchange ideas on possible solutions. And learning from the bilateral trade dispute, President Moon says he will use this lesson to solve the structural issues in the Korean economy. He emphasized on the need to improve the quality of Korean-made components, which should lessen South Korea's dependence on imports. Park Hee-jun, Arirang News.
Now, Japanese media outlets, including Kyodo News Agency, were quick to cover President Moon Jae-in's first public remarks on Japan's new trade restrictions on Monday, in which he urged Tokyo to withdraw them, as we just heard. However, Kyodo reports Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is unlikely to change his stance, but rather continue to exert pressure on Seoul over South Korea's Supreme Court's ruling on forced wartime labor. Kim Hyo-sun reports.
Japan's Kyodo News Agency published an article Monday titled "South Korean President Urges Tokyo's Regulation Withdrawal, Vowing Responsive Measures." It quoted President Moon's remarks that called for Japan's withdrawal of its latest trade restrictions on South Korea. It explained this is the first public response by Moon amid the trade spat between the two neighbors. However, it said it's unclear whether the South Korean leader will be able to seek a resolution, as it's been a while since Seoul and Tokyo held a summit. The article also said President Moon vowed to take responsive measures if South Korean companies are harmed by the new trade curbs. Citing diplomatic sources, the article said Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is unlikely to change his stance even after the House of Councilors election slated for later in July. Rather, it explained Tokyo will continue to exert pressure on Seoul to resolve the issue of forced labor during World War II. Japan's NHK also dealt with President Moon's remark in detail, adding he will meet with South Korean business leaders to seek further countermeasures. Other Japanese media outlets, including the Mainichi, Yomiuri, and Asahi Shimbun, covered President Moon's remarks as well. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
South Korea's National Assembly kicks off a three-day round of Q&A sessions this afternoon with top government officials. Through Thursday, rival lawmakers will be grilling officials, including Prime Minister Lee Nak-yeon, on a whole range of topics from diplomatic affairs to economic issues. Tuesday's session will focus on political issues and North Korea affairs. The centre of the debate is likely to be the recent security lapse that saw a North Korean fishing boat enter South Korean waters undetected, as well as the peace drive here on the peninsula. Other issues are expected to include the government's response to Japan's recent trade retaliation. And the National Assembly held a confirmation hearing on Monday for President Moon Jae-in's pick for the most powerful prosecutor in the land. Under the microscope were Yoon Suk-yeol's views on how he plans to overhaul the prosecution, a branch of law enforcement here in South Korea that has come under harsh criticism over the years. Kim Min-ji reports.
Yoon Suk-yeol, President Moon Jae-in's pick for prosecutor-general, vowed to carry out sweeping reforms while stressing the importance of political neutrality. He was speaking Monday at his confirmation hearing.
Prosecutors have been swayed by politics, and that I regret. I will overhaul the organization, system, and culture of the prosecution, considering what's best for the people. I also promise to maintain political neutrality.
When asked about his views on balancing the investigative powers of the prosecution and the police, he said that prosecutors should keep their right to control cases. But he said there could be fewer investigations directly carried out by them over time.
Controlling investigations at the end of the day means communication between prosecution and police. The important thing is how we can cooperate and not who carries out the probes. For the country as a whole, if we could strengthen our ability to fight corruption and irregularities, then I don't think prosecutors would have to do the investigations. For now, I think there is a degree to which we can reduce the amount they handle.
Yoon's views are slightly out of line with the government's plans to give police the authority to investigate as well as close cases and eventually do away with the prosecution's role of oversight. Currently, the prosecution has the power to control, open, and end investigations, as well as the exclusive right to indict. Yoon said that he's not opposed to another key reform bill either, one which calls for the creation of an independent body that will probe irregularities committed by high-ranking officials. Yoon's nomination is being seen as a show of the Moon Jae-in administration's determination to continue its reform drive. He is a reform-minded veteran who currently heads a Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office and has major cases under his belt, including the power abuse scandal involving ousted former President Park Geun-hye. At the hearing, the ruling Democratic Party claimed Yoon is fit for the job, saying he is known for sticking to principles even under external pressure. However, opposition parties raised concerns over ethical matters, such as a suspected fraud case involving a family member and Yoon allegedly meddling in a bribery case involving a former tax agency official. The prosecutor-general position requires a confirmation hearing, but it doesn't require parliamentary approval. The president is expected to go ahead with the appointment after rival parties adopt a hearing report. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, President Moon Jae-in is set to assess the progress made in establishing a fair economy with various government organizations, public institutions and lawmakers. This afternoon's Fair Economy Strategy meeting at the Blue House is the third of its kind under this administration. The roughly 24 attendees will include South Korea's finance and trade ministers, as well as the vice chairperson of the Fair Trade Commission. Each ministry and agency will report on their accomplishments to date, with the fair economy being one of the president's key economic pillars. He's expected to reiterate the importance of the public sector's role and ask for continued efforts to make a difference to people's lives. Samsung Heavy Industries has successfully built the world's largest container vessel, which has now left its shipyard in gov't, Gyeongsangnam-do province. The South Korean shipbuilder explained that the vessel, capable of carrying over 23,000 20-foot equivalent units or TEU containers, is the first of 6 units ordered in 2017 by Swiss shipper Mediterranean Shipping Company. It added the 400-metre-long ship has its own next-generation smart ship system, S-Vessel, which enhances safety and fuel efficiency. Now, with tensions spiking between the US and Iran following Tehran's decision to up its uranium enrichment, US Vice President Mike Pence has warned that Washington is prepared to protect its national interests, particularly in the Middle East. He added the US will continue to pile economic pressure on Iran through crushing sanctions that are having a serious effect on Iran's economy. Lee Seung-jae reports.
With Iran threatening to take major steps away from the 2015 nuclear accord that the Trump administration abandoned last year, U.S. Vice President Mike Pence said Monday that Washington is ready to protect U.S. personnel and citizens in the Middle East, adding it will continue to bring pressure to bear to Tehran.
We hope for the best, but the United States of America and our military are prepared to protect our interests and protect our personnel and our citizens in the region. We will continue to oppose Iran's malign influence. We will continue to bring pressure on their economy. And under President Donald Trump, America will never allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon.
Pence again accused Iran of attacking tankers near the Strait of Hormuz, adding that Tehran also downed an unmanned American drone. Pence said Iran has been increasing even more of their malign activity and violence in the region, with industry sources reporting Iran's crude oil exports dropped in June. The country's oil minister blamed Washington for destabilizing the oil market on Monday, saying the U.S. was using the oil as a weapon to pressure Iran. However, Bijan Zagadne remains hopeful that oil exports will improve, adding it's not the price of oil that's a concern, but the amount it can ship out. This comes as the International Atomic Energy Agency has confirmed Iran has enriched uranium beyond a 3.67% purity limit, a move announced by the Iranian government last weekend. The IAEA said it verified the enrichment level using online enrichment monitors, and samples had also been taken on Monday for analysis. It added Iran had informed the agency that the enrichment level was about 4.5%, but could be higher. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Washington's point man on North Korea, Stephen Biegun, will visit NATO headquarters during his trip to Brussels and speak to officials there on ways to achieve North Korea's denuclearization. According to the US State Department, Biegun will hold closed-door meetings there on Tuesday local time. Biegun will also brief NATO officials on the recent DMZ meeting between President Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Biegun is scheduled to meet with his South Korean counterpart Lee Do-hoon during his trip to Berlin later this week. They're set to discuss the current situation on the Korean peninsula. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's younger sister used to be constantly by her brother's side, taking care of arrangements and protocol to make sure events went off without a hitch. But now, it seems Yo Jong has received a major promotion, one that puts her among the 10 most powerful people in Pyongyang's elite. Oh Soo-young with the details.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's sister now appears to be the 9th most powerful figure in the regime. Seated just 4 seats to the left of her brother, Kim Yo Jong sat in the front row at a memorial on Monday in Pyongyang Gymnasium, marking the 25th death anniversary of their grandfather and the founder of North Korea, Kim Il-sung. She was among 10 of the top officials, including senior officials of the ruling Workers' Party, Park Bong-ju, Lee Man-gon and Lee Soo-young. Chae Ryong-hae, who heads the country's rubber stamp parliament, and Premier Kim Jae-ryong were also at the event. Experts believe Kim Yo Jong's seating position indicates she wields a lot more power than she used to.
As she was seated among the vice chairman of the party's central committee, as well as its politicians, it's possible Kim Yo Jong's status has been raised from a candidate of the Politburo to an actual member.
Kim Yo Jong is currently the first vice director of the Workers' Party's propaganda and agitation department, working under its nominal director Park Kwang-ho. Up until the Hanoi summit between the US and North Korean leaders earlier this year, Kim Yo Jong's role mainly consisted of making arrangements and overseeing the order of events for her brother. However, according to Jaein, the head of the Intelligence Committee at South Korea's National Assembly, it seems that baton has been passed to former pop star and now Deputy Propaganda Director Hyun Song-ho. In recent weeks, Kim Yo Jong has stood next to key officials in diplomatic events, being the seventh person in line to shake hands with Chinese President Xi Jinping when he made a state visit to Pyongyang, and also being accompanied by bodyguards, an uncommon feature for deputy directors. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
US President Donald Trump has sharply criticized a foreign ambassador over a bunch of leaked diplomatic cables. Trump didn't hold back after Britain's envoy described the US administration in a damning way, leading Trump to say he will no longer deal with the ambassador in question. For more on this and other news from around the world, let's turn to our Hong Yu. So this is a big deal because the US and the UK are known around the world for their so-called special relationship. So this is rather embarrassing for the United Kingdom. What are they saying?
Well, Mark, when diplomatic cables sent from the UK ambassador to the US, Kim Darroch, back to London were leaked to and published by a Sunday newspaper, President Trump said he no longer wants anything to do with Darroch. The confidential memos rendered Trump's administration as dysfunctional and inept, and it was leaked at a sensitive time when Britain is trying to negotiate a major trade deal with the US. In a barrage of tweets, Trump also criticized British Prime Minister Theresa May for her handling of Brexit, heading into it without taking his advice. He wrote that May and her representatives have created a mess. Yet May has full faith in the UK ambassador, according to her spokesperson. May defended the ambassador, saying it's his job to provide honest and unvarnished opinions. But she says she does not agree with the assessment of the Trump administration that was made by the ambassador. British Foreign Secretary Jeremy Hunt, one of the potential candidates to become the next prime minister by the end of the month, also said he does not share the ambassador's assessment, but defended his rights to make such frank comments in private. British Trade Minister Liam Fox, who is due to meet with Trump's daughter Ivanka during his upcoming visit to Washington, will apologize for what he called malicious leaks that could damage their diplomatic relationship. The UK has launched an investigation to determine who was behind the leak. Hong Kong protester and pop star Dennis Ho stood up to China at the United Nations in Geneva on Monday, saying that human rights are under attack in Hong Kong. She urged the UN Human Rights Council to suspend China's membership in the 47-member forum.
We are all in danger in Hong Kong because we are on the edge of becoming just another China city where we would lose all our freedom of speech, freedom of protest. And this is really that tipping point where either we can safeguard our city or it goes the other way.
Beijing's delegation interrupted Ho twice during her speech invoking point of order. But Ho continued denouncing the disqualifications of lawmakers, the kidnapping of booksellers, and jailing of activists as a proof of China's tightening grip against freedom. Heavy rain caused white flash flooding across the Washington, D.C. metro area on Monday, prompting the National Weather Service to issue a flash flood emergency. The city was hit with more than 7.5 centimeters of rain in just 2 hours, flooding roads and neighborhoods. Some people were stranded in cars and several high water rescues were reported. Flooding even reached the White House basement and government employees had to drain the standing water with wet vacuums.
Time now for our Life and Info segment where we focus on information useful for your everyday life. Now, the monsoon season has arrived here in South Korea, as it does at this time of the year every year, and the high temperatures as well as the high humidity unfortunately can increase joint pain and stiffness in people who suffer from the dreadful condition known as arthritis. Park Se-young with more.
This 80-year-old woman has been suffering from arthritis for more than 20 years. Around this time of the year, the weather is particularly harsh on her joints.
Both my knees, hips, and back hurt more if it rains or is cloudy.
High temperatures and humidity are associated with increased joint pain and stiffness. Sweating releases synovial fluids, which are lubricants around the joints, and this increases irritation from friction. Low barometric pressure during the monsoon season also increases internal pressure in the joints and causes swelling. And the cold air from air conditioners causes muscles to contract, which results in more pain. Doing nothing can result in joint deterioration and lead to loss of function, which is why experts recommend light exercise.
It's better to avoid exercises like walking upstairs or hiking. It's important to strengthen the muscles through exercises that are easy on the joints, like flatland walking, swimming, stationary bike riding, and aqua aerobics.
Experts say light exercise not only reduces arthritis pain, but also helps to prevent arthritis and slow its progression. Arthritis patients are also recommended to protect their knees from cold air by using cover-ups or blankets. Park Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, before we get to the weather, some quick cultural news. An exhibition showcasing pre-Roman artifacts from central Italy is being held right now at the National Museum of Korea in Seoul. At the exhibition, which is titled The Etruscans Rising to Rome, it showcases nearly 300 treasures, including sculptures, architectural ornaments and portraits to give visitors a peek into the life and customs of the ancient civilization. This is the first time this particular civilization, regarded as one of the most important of the ancient Mediterranean region, is being showcased in Korea. The exhibition runs through October 27th.
Good morning. A sweltering heat wave grips Korea's central western regions again, with a heat wave advisory still being in place. Meanwhile, eastern regions will enjoy relatively cooler conditions thanks to easterly winds with highs in the mid or low 20s. Also, eastern regions will see lots of clouds, while mostly sunny skies are in the forecast for central western regions with highs in the 30s. Meanwhile, parts of Jeollanam-do and Gyeongsang-nam-do provinces could see passing showers during the day. While central western regions will finally get some relief from the heat as monsoon showers return on Wednesday. Nationwide monsoon rain is expected through Thursday. Rain will start Wednesday morning from southern and eastern parts of the country, gradually spreading to the rest of the country by afternoon, so have an umbrella handy for tomorrow. Parts of Gangwon-do could see more than 150 millimeters of heavy showers, while Jeju and Gyeongsang-do provinces could see 20 to 60 millimeters into Thursday. That's Korea for you, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all we have for now on this Tuesday morning here in Seoul. Stay tuned to Arirang TV, and a reminder that our next newscast is coming up at noon Korea time with our very own Lee Jaein. That's in around 90 minutes from now. So until then, goodbye.
From Arirang Radio.